told the folks, I'm not sure that I want to sell anything. I just like doing the work. And so we had a salesperson, and like a few months into my job, the person left. So I had to wear that hat. But honestly, it's been one of the more rewarding parts of it, is building the relationships with the customers and bringing value to them. I thought sales was about pushing them to buy something, and it's really not. It's much more about just bringing value to them.
Welcome to Actualizing Success. In this podcast series, our in-house advisors discuss today's finance and technology topics with an emphasis on solutions that embrace tomorrow.
Hi, I am Kerry Wekelo, Actualize Consulting's Chief Operating Officer, and I am joined with one of our partners, Matt Seu. I remember when Matt decided to join Actualize over 16 years ago. He now has been at Actualize as long as his first career at Freddie Mac. It is hard to believe it has been that long. Matt has always been a stable force for Actualize. As we continue our 20-year celebration, we wanted to hear from Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Well, I'm good today, Kerry. Just ready to chat about all of this and share some things that maybe some folks don't know.
Excellent. Well, let's get started. Tell us why you wanted to make the switch from corporate to consulting.
Sure. A little bit more complex answer than the question, but I think it was more about what I wanted in terms of my career and what made me happy. And so as much as I had done well and managed many things that were really important at Freddie Mac and was highly regarded, I got to a point where I just didn't feel like I was in a business model that I could be successful in, and more importantly, feel good about. And parts of the reason were, I had moved into more of a management and administrative role, which probably sounds great on paper, to having a whole bunch of people working for you. I had hundreds, but the self-satisfaction wasn't there. I did not get to know the people on the team as well as I would have liked to. And so what I thought was, it's time to switch, to do something different. My family had been owners of a business. I like the entrepreneurial nature of things, but I also really like the problem solving and developing ideas and products and helping others. And so consulting fit a lot of those. And quite honestly, when I left, I had a lot of opportunities to kind of recycle myself back into lender shops and things like that, and bigger brand name consulting businesses, but none of those really gave me what I wanted, which was the ability to be hands-on, be able to really work with the team and the clients and make big changes. And so, Actualize came up and it seemed like a really good fit. And it has been. I think over the years we've done a lot of cool stuff. And so for me, it was really about wanting to get into a mode where I could use my better skills and bring those to the clients and to the people that work for me.
And you gracefully eased right in. It was like you've been doing consulting your whole life, honestly. So yeah, I was definitely impressed with how you made that transition look so easy. Not everybody does that. Yeah.
Kerry, I'll tell you one of the things that at the beginning I told the folks, I'm not sure that I want to sell anything. I just like doing the work. And so we had a salesperson, and like a few months into my job, the person left. So I had to wear that hat. But it's been one of the more rewarding parts of it, is building the relationships with the customers and bringing value to them. I thought sales was about pushing them to buy something, and it's really not. It's much more about just bringing value to them. So I thought that would be interesting for people to know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because we're so niche in our practices and our service offerings and our areas of expertise, it's really about exactly that, providing that trusted advisor, that service to our clients. And it's not hard because we're the experts in the industry. So that's really, really good. So To that note, as many of our listeners know, you remain one of our most billable members of our team. What keeps you passionate about the work we do, and what keeps you motivated?
Well, I think what I'm passionate about is being able to help move the industry along. I mean, we've been fortunate to have customers that are decision makers and major players in the market, including the GSEs and Ginnie Mae and some others. And so it's just exciting to be able to be part of something that is really industry changing, and that ultimately gets back to the end real beneficiary of all this, which is the borrower. And, again, I mean, we're creative. I'd say that, some of the things that we do are a little bit a niche, as you mentioned, but it's really fun. And again, I mean, I've done this my whole life basically. And so I think at this point, people are listening to me when I talk on things like these podcasts, and it just really all comes together to keep me motivated. And I think that making Actualize a place where the people that work for us can learn and grow is something else. So, being billable, or whether I'm helping lead efforts to gain more business, it's all kind of the same. And it's, it's what I like to do. I mean, I probably at this point could have claimed victory a bunch of times, but there's just so much more out there to do. And I don't know that I'm ever not going to be motivated.
Right. No, I know. You keep saying you're going to retire, and I don't believe you. So I listen when you say it, and then I move on. Eventually you will. But
yeah, well, I'll tell you a funny story on that. When I was like in high school, I always said that I wanted to make $1 million by the time I was 25. And that didn't happen. I mean, I didn't make that goal, but I always told everybody, it's like, I'm going to retire by the time I'm 55. And then that was coming around. And then I was like, maybe not 55. Who knows? But yeah, I know. I mean, in this business that we're in, I mean, you never really need to retire. So, but, we'll see. I think my wife might have something to do with that answer as well.
Well, there you go. That's fair enough. Fair enough. Well, one of the things I love about Actualize is that we've always promoted our team growing the business. Tell us how MISMO came to fruition, and, how would our listeners be able to use MISMO?
Sure. I mean, and again, this is one of the niche things that we do. We talked to some folks that had been previous clients over at Fannie Mae and the data side way back when, and that included Rick Hill, and eventually Jan Davis. And they started talking about MISMO and why it was important. And funny enough, we got some business at Freddie Mac related to appraisal portal and delivery data standards. We now know that as ULDD. But it was really taking a big bet, Kerry. I mean, we said, look, the market is moving forward. The GSEs are involved. The regulator is pushing it. So we said, let's chase it. And so slowly we started gaining traction on it. And by now I think people know that we're a leader in that space, and both the services space, and we'll talk about our technology in a minute. But it was one of those deals where we just said, this is open greenfield. There's no competition. And yet we have a big advantage because we're very close to all of it. So we got involved in MISMO, started growing our volunteer army with them, doing a lot of extra things that maybe we didn't get paid for in the time, but we're really laying the foundation for a broader offering. And it's one of our more successful lines of business right now. So for folks that are involved in the mortgage data space, clearly you've heard of MISMO, and we certainly can help talk about that with you. But I think, there's still a lot of greenfield there too. And we want to continue to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we talked about it, we've always been niche in our market. How did TransformX come about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was an intersection of a couple of things that one had always been there, and the other was much more an industry situation. And so, just so that folks understand the trickiness and difficulty with MISMO is that it's a complicated data standard. It's built in XML. It's unbelievably detailed and robust, but at the same time, it's hard for people to look at and figure out immediately. Not to mention the fact that we're working on version 3.6, which I believe will be coming out officially soon. But it started with 3.0, and even before that, with a 2 dot and a 1 dot version. So not everything that you see in MISMO is in the same version. So, for example, delivery is in one, closing's in a different one, loan applications and yet another one, and then you have all of the commercial MISMO stuff too. So it becomes complicated. But also, folks will remember back when TRID came about, so the new TILA-RESPA integrated disclosure. And so where we were on that, we were very much a part of creating the UCD with both the GSEs and helping them promote it through the industry. That caught a lot of people by surprise. And again, it was very complex. It involved a lot of different new parts of MISMO. And so we had several clients that wanted us to help them figure this TRID thing out. And so we created some tools and created some methods around how to make their proprietary data into MISMO. And brainstorm, light bulb goes off. We're like, this is a product more than just an idea or a tool or a method. And so with TRID, we really launched the product that we call TransformX. And again, all it is a utility that takes in output or input rather, translates it and spits out output. The key thing is that it uses MISMO as the translator and across all the versions. So somewhat unique in that regard, but it takes in any format, spits out MISMO or vice versa, and we've had it being used in the market in both of those ways by some pretty large players. And so that's what it is, and that's where we are. Really cool roadmap. I'm sure there's going to be some things that you'll see through our social media coming out in the next quarter or two about some big product enhancements that we have going on. But that's what it is. And again, unique to us, unique to the industry, and we're really proud of it.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. We actually were showing TransformX to a co-op student who said that when he's in school, sometimes the professors don't give hands-on about how you can actually use some of these tools and technology in the market. So he was pretty geeked out about it. So appreciated that. And I know I was really proud to be able to have our team share that with him as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Now, what has changed in the market since you've joined Actualize?
Well, I mean, so that's a great question because there's two real simple answers that are opposed to one another. And on the mortgage side, the one thing is that not a ton has changed. I mean, as much as we've seen a lot of technology come into the market, the fintechs and so forth, the way the business operates has been largely the same, which, at the end of the day is somewhat disappointing because I still think there's an enormous opportunity to optimize and look at how technology can change how you do business in the mortgage space. But the other thing is that we've had a crazy set of events that have occurred since I started. When I first began, the market was very, very oriented towards private label. And so that meant that the GSE and the Govy business wasn't an enormous part of it like it has been lately. And quite frankly, that's not a bad model. I think we realized that, some of the risks that was taken on eventually resulted in a big part of the default crisis. And then, so at that point, Actualize had to flex. We had to say, initially my focus was more on how do you integrate the secondary market and the primary market. Then it shifted to what do you need to do to help companies get out of the mess they're in with defaults and foreclosures and out of prison with the regulators. And so we shifted there. And then, again, for a decade, very, very low and non-volatile rate environment. It gave a lot of folks the ability to make a lot of money in the lending space. Quite frankly, a lot of borrowers were able to enter the market. And then all of a sudden, with COVID, we had an enormous change in terms of who was allowed to talk to and meet with others. And so that launched a big change in terms of remote online notarization, e-closings, and so forth. And, and whether or not all of that's durable, we'll wait and see, because some of it's receded a little bit. But then, of course, with all of the fallout from COVID and all of the money that was spent, you had to eventually know that the balloon was going to burst a little bit, or at least inflate quite a bit, which is what we've seen in terms of inflation and rate environment. So, in terms of the economic and business backstory or overlay to what we do, it's made us really pivot, and it's why we've been successful, because we understand the whole business. We're able to focus when we need to focus on different sectors of the market. We can do that. So, in summary, some things never change and others change a lot. And so, what's good for us is that whenever clients need to figure out different methods, figure out better methods, that's what we do. And so in fairness, I think the market itself is always going to have opportunity, and we're there for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely also continues to cycle, right? So now, what do you see the future for Actualize and supporting our clients?
Yeah, I think we're going to spend 2023 focusing on some really specific things that we think are important. Some of the things that we do, like strategic roadmaps, we're always going to do those. But we think there's a unique opportunity now, and this is especially challenging given the rate environment and inflation. We're going to put a focus on affordable lending and how we support that in the industry. And for folks that are not as involved in our day-to-day, we've been in this space for a long time. Going back to the default crisis, we've had a lot of work with credit counseling entities and with folks that were trying to figure out how to modify people into a more affordable scenario. But also we've helped develop loan programs and other things in relation to affordable. And again, some of our clients are very much in that space, especially the government entities, both at the state and the local level. We took a step back and said, you know what, this is something we're good at. And this is something that we can really bring value to our customers. And so we're gonna again, you'll see more of that in social media as the year progresses. But that's one thing that's going to be new. And the other is we're going to focus a lot more on a more full offering and complete offering about what we call enterprise information management, or EIM. And again, we've had business over the years helping build large data warehouses and analytics suites, and we've helped customers put together data management and data governance strategies. But we think that's going to be a big opportunity for our clients as we move into this year and forward, knowing that we've got a lot of experience in the space. And quite frankly, when you look at this industry, it's all data, whether it's data in terms of databases and files, or whether it's documents and images. It's all information and all data. And so, again, we think that we've got a pretty good story to tell, one that isn't, a one-size-fits-all model. It's fit to suit, it's fit to budget. And again, very, very excited about that. And, again, we'll be continuing to push our TransformX, our MERS offerings, and our regular consulting, always trying to figure out how to weave some of our culture and fusion into all of those. And last but not least, we're trying to continue to grow within the federal space. So a lot of things to talk about with Actualize and mortgage and fixed income as we go through the year. And hopefully, we'll see a lot of that through our social media and through conference participation and things of that nature.
Well, that's very exciting. Well, as we close out, what's one piece of advice you would give our listeners?
Yeah, I guess the one piece of advice would be to always challenge where you are. And so, as we all know, the mortgage business thrived and there was a lot of money made in the recent years. But as I mentioned, nobody's going to predict a pandemic. Nobody's going to predict an inflation environment like this. And so I would just say, always challenge yourself to see how you can get better. The customers that we have that have saved their money, they're investing it now to try to be even better as we come out of this business cycle, and they'll do well. It's very easy to rest on your laurels, but if you can always challenge yourself to do a little better, to think out of the box, and really focus on how your business unit and your people can move forward in a positive way, I think that's what I would tell folks. So, now you're maybe in an area where it's tricky and challenging, but always challenge yourself.
I think that's great advice. And there always will be challenges. So it's good to keep yourself on the cutting edge as well. Well, thanks, Matt, so much. It was great to talk to you as always. And we'll look forward to our next podcast.
Thanks, Kerry. It was great.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Actualizing Success. Make sure to visit us online at www.actualizeconsulting.com, where you can explore our service offerings. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or your preferred platform. If you've enjoyed what we talked about today, please consider leaving a review and following us on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or would like to share your opinions with us, please send us a note at podcast@actualizeconsulting.com. We look forward to hearing from you.